Hey, Michael, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. Yesterday, I learned that every 7 years we get a whole nother set of atoms. So,
All right.
yeah. I was trying to do the math, which I'm terrible at. Try to figure out am I due for a new set of atoms? And if I am, whose atoms am I going to get? And I wonder, like, if there's a way to kind of figure that out, which of course there isn't.
That is a very interesting piece of information that I wouldn't have known if it weren't for you. So thanks for that.
There you go. See, just like that. Come on down. Not only do we have the solutions to our most challenging problems here on Staten Island, we also have fun facts with Michael DeVito after reading books all weekend. How are you doing, sister?
I'm good. Just coming off of the holiday weekend. I was grilling and had a whole bunch of food in the house that I have to get rid of now. So trying to work my way through that.
Indeed, the leftovers
The
and what to do
leftovers.
with them.
Yep, those are the best. The leftovers.
They are the best because they can literally be eaten at any point in time without, for the most part, without any stress. And you think about all of the stress that led up to preparing them, and then
Mhm.
voila, there you are with all of
Yep,
your leftovers.
that's it.
How very fortunate of we. I have some leftovers myself. Wow. So today we have a guest that I absolutely adore, and we are going to get into how we define violence and how we look at violence as a disease. And there is no person that is better to help us understand what all of that means and what we can do to be better humans than Iron Mike Perry. So, Robin, tell us a little bit about Iron Mike Perry.
Iron Mike Perry is the program manager of True to Life. True to Life is an anti gun violence initiative implemented by the Crisis Management System of New York City. Mike has greatly assisted in changing the norms surrounding violence. His motto, Peace is the new gangsta, has resonated throughout his scope of work as he continues to make a positive impact in the lives of countless individuals around the island. His greatest accomplishments, however, are his three beautiful children, who are the reasons why he's so grounded in his purpose.
So, without further ado, let's talk to one of the most credible messengers you're ever going to find.
Identifying high risk youth, right? Who we know is prone to violence.
As the manager of True to Life, what do you think your conflict management style is? And how does that affect your management style?
You and your brothers and sisters are literally stopping the bleeding.
But our job is not to send nobody to prison. Our job is to reform and change their lives.
What do you do to ensure that you're getting your message across in that sensitive, intense situation?
As a person of color, how are you managing your emotions regarding the current state of the country, regarding George Floyd, the Black Lives Matter movement, and other things of that nature?
Welcome, 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 everybody, to the first installment of Effective Expressions. Here we are on sunny Staten Island. It is a beautiful and crazy Monday morning. And we are here with my sister, Robin Piper.
Hi,
And
everybody. Oop, sorry.
all good, all good, all good. Like I said, everybody, first ever. So
Yep.
indeed, indeed. And with the one and only Iron Mike Perry of True to Life.
Right. Peace, everybody. What's going on? What's going on?
So, as we're jumping on in here for this first installment, we have, I think, an incredible conversation set up for you. And we are going to get into the nitty gritty of Mike's story and of True to Life. So, Iron Mike, my brother, if you would please share with everyone a little bit about yourself, everything from what you've been up to today to how you're feeling to what work you do with True to Life.
No doubt, no doubt. So peace, everybody, and thanks, Mike, for having me. Thanks, Robin, for having me. Having your boy on the podcast is really cool. You know, I got mad love and respect for you both. So yeah, my name is Iron Mike Perry. I'm one of my titles. I'm the program manager for True to Life. True to Life is an anti-gun violence initiative, here on Staten Island. We're part of the crisis management system in New York City. We're one organization. I think there's about 23 right now, but it branches off, right? So you would have a host organization, and then you would have, it's like an umbrella, and then you have a lot of organizations under it. So we're one of 23, but I think it's really like 26 sites total all across New York City. And our goal is to reduce shootings and killings in the areas where we work. That's the goal. But there's a lot that goes into that. But again, that's one of my titles. I'm also a hip hop artist, right? I'm also doing film. I also do sell clothing. And my most rewarding and favorite title is being a father. So outside of everything, to me, that's the most important thing. And that's where most of my dedication goes. And that's the title. Those are the titles, you guys. But a lot more to it.
So, Mike, you and I have known each other for quite a number of years now. And throughout your work with True to Life, you've always talked about violence being a disease. If you want to elaborate more on that, what does that mean? And what does that mean for you in terms of True to Life and their mission?
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Thanks for that, Rob. Yes, absolutely. Like you said, we've known each other for many, many years. And so the thing about Cure Violence, when you look at the model, there's an epidemiologist by the name of Gary Slutkin, and I think he's from Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. So him, after years and years of research and doing work surrounding violence and trying to figure it out, him and a bunch of doctors, they deemed it violence to be a public health issue, to be a disease, an actual disease, something that affects your mind. And so then the model Cure Violence was born, because anytime you have a disease, the next best thing is the next thing to do is to find a cure for the disease. Try to find out what's causing the disease, detect it, interrupt it, and try to stop it. So with those things all together, they was able to come up with the model called Cure Violence and start to create and figure out what was the best way to cure this disease of violence, right? So, I mean, just like we all know, especially with violence, I think the best way to try to deal with that is, finding out in this case, finding out men and women who are close to the disease, who are close to that mentality, who can relate to that mentality, who have dealt with that mentality, that disease, right? And who've been reformed of it and healed from it and cured from it. So this is where you have Cure Violence. You have credible men and women who have suffered from that mentality, that disease of inflicting violence and being a part of that whole culture. And now we're using that, and we're using our rehab that we've been. And I share this with you guys too. The rehab process is still taking place. Okay, and that's a fair statement. That's a real statement that I want to make in terms of the work that we do. So again, we've been able to use our rehab, years and years of fighting against our own demons that we have, helping people. And so now you have Cure Violence. It's a global thing. You have Cure Violence sites all across the entire world, which is amazing. I was just on a call this weekend, and we were on with people from Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, the Caribbean. So Cure Violence is a global movement. And it's spread across the world. And so this model and this mentality has really been effective, and clearly because it's Cure Violence Global now.
So can you tell me a little bit about how True to Life is broken down? I know there's violence interrupters, there's hospital responders, there's outreach workers. So what is the difference of the three, and what responsibilities do they have?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So again, Cure Violence, the model, right? So how does this model look and how does it work? So you have outreach workers, you have violence interrupters, and you have hospital responders. So it's a three-pronged, but way more than three-pronged approach, right? But those are just kind of like the main roles in this work. So the violence interrupters, what is their job? It's simple, but not simple. They are to detect and interrupt violence. They are the men and women on the grounds who know the people in their respective neighborhoods in these communities. They have the credibility, the know-how, the experience to go speak to these men and women who are involved in conflict. And they can go get in there and squash beef and squash situations and save lives, right? So that's a part of their job. Second part of their job is identifying high-risk youth, right? Who we know is prone to violence, prone to gun violence, prone to being in the street, and know their chances of being killed are high. So what they do is they identify those people, and they would bring them to an outreach worker, right? So they would create a relationship with them first, right? You have to get buy-in. You have to explain what it is that you do, and so ultimately they would gain a relationship with the high-risk youth, and the high-risk youth would transfer the violence interrupter would transfer the high-risk youth to the outreach worker, right? So now the outreach worker steps in and takes over. The outreach worker is much more equipped to try to start the process of healing the young man or young woman. And so how does that look? So you have what's called a risk reduction, right? A risk reduction / growth and development plan, right? Because that's what I like to add. I learned that from my brother K. Bain from Queens. He's another ally in this work. So not only is it a risk reduction program, it's a risk reduction. It's a growth and development plan. So what does that look like? So you have again high-risk youth who are in the streets. Some of them don't have IDs to get started for work. Some of them are dealing with housing issues. Some of them are having money issues, and they're trying to feed their families. Some of them have kids, right? So whatever that risk reduction and growth and development plan looks like, it's different for every individual, for every high-risk youth, because they're all dealing with separate situations and separate things in their own personal lives. So we identify those things. We sit down, the outreach worker talks to the young man or woman about that, and we create a checklist, and we start to check those things off. We check them off, we check them off, we check them off. And so what that does is it starts to create energy around this young man or young woman about change. I didn't have my social before. I didn't have my birth certificate before. I didn't have my ID before. Now I got plugs with housing. I know where to go, do this, that, and third. So it starts to create some structure around the young man and young woman. And what's happening while that's going on, their mind is being reformed little by little, by having conversation. It starts with the violence interrupter, right? And now they're at the outreach work. And so that's how it works. And then ultimately, after sometimes, I would say a year or two, we feel like we got the young man or young woman on the right track. They're working. They ain't on the corner no more. And we feel like their percentages are dropped dramatically in terms of them being high risk. So when the outreach worker gets them, again, after a year, sometimes it takes longer for certain young men and women. I mean, I tell you, we've had some young participants for 3 years. It's just true. But they're slowly but surely, they're getting their thing together. And sometimes we got a participant for 6 months, and they're working. They got an apartment. Like, it's faster for some young men and women. And then the third piece is the hospital responder, right? So the hospital responders, their job is they respond to victims of gunshot victims, and now the city has even added stabbing victims to our work as well. Any penetrating wound, and then also vicious assaults. We get a call from the hospital. We're partnered with the neighborhood hospital, Rumsey, Richmond University Medical Center. And mind you, all of these roles, they are all highly trained. Our violence interrupters are highly trained and skilled. So is our outreach workers, and so is our hospital responders. So the hospital responders' job is to simply get into the hospital. When we get a call from the hospital of a penetrating wound, a lot of times it's very, very serious, and this is really the some high level stuff. The hospital responders' number one job is to go into the hospital after the police officers do their work and do their investigation. We step in, and our job is not to get information to share with the police. I want to make that clear. At the True to Life, we don't share any information with police. They respect the work that we do. We respect them. But our job is not to send nobody to prison. Our job is to reform and change their lives. And so I just want to make that clear for the record. So the NYPD would do their job as far as finding out who shot the person, doing their investigation. When they're done, we would step in. And our job when we get to the victim is to prevent a retaliation. That's our number one job when we step foot in that hospital. Because we know the victim is the most vulnerable at that point. shot, stabbed. Sometimes the family is in the waiting room, and sometimes it doesn't look good. And so we go visit them bedside, and we holler at them. We offer services. We're talking to them about joining our organization and seeing what we can do to help them, like some real sincere help. And that's what we do, when we get to the hospital. So that's the three-prong approach: violence interrupters, outreach workers, and hospital responders. And that makes this whole dynamic of changing community norms work, right? And so what I can't leave out is the staff, right? The staff is an extremely important piece, because the staff are the men and women who are the credible messengers in these communities, who can do this work, who can push this model of peace. So you have to have credible men and women that you can send into these communities to speak to these people and get these norms in our communities to change.
Michael, did you have a question or a commentary?
I do. Do you see it just like sort of like bleeding off? It's right there, right? It's
I see it on your face.
Yeah, absolutely. So brother Mike, when I hear you speak, I hear you, literally speaking from the perspective of how you and your brothers and sisters are literally stopping the bleeding when it comes to addressing violence as a disease, as a public health issue, literally going in and stopping the bleeding, and that the work of raising the consciousness of an individual who's been affected by this disease, starts in the emergency room, and that you do that as a credible messenger. Could you help our community understand, what's that like? What kind of pressure and tension do you maybe feel that you're under? How do you deal with that pressure and tension? And the rest of your team, how are you carrying the weight of that? And what do you do to ensure that you're getting your message across in that sensitive, intense situation?
Right. Yeah, Mike. It's like I said, it's some high level stuff. None of this work is easy. None of it's easy. We deal with grieving mothers and fathers, and it's not easy. And so it takes a lot, man. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot from us to even do the work, but especially in the hospital, Mike. I mean, that's high level stuff. We're seeing a lot of things that we're seeing blood. We're seeing gunshot wounds. We're seeing victims. We're seeing grieving families, because sometimes when we go into the hospital, it's not always a good situation. Sometimes the victim expires, and then we got to deal with parents and yeah. I need y'all to give me 1 sec. Let me give
all good
report, okay?
All good.
Hold on.
Yes, of course. While Mike is taking care of his young king, let us just talk a little bit about NYSED's connection to all of this, as it relates to the fact that we have some folks coming on with us in the next couple of weeks that are also credible messengers that work in our Arches program with young men and women, and that our restorative practices and the work that we're doing to help the community heal, which is coming up very soon. Please stay tuned. In the next couple of weeks, NYSED is doing some restorative community healing circles around the police violence that we have all seen very recently, as it's been not very recently, it's been going on forever, and that our community is responding to that police violence in a way that they've never have before. And in the next couple of weeks, NYSED is offering very specific community healing circles around this, so that our community can come together and could speak openly and freely to process and heal from what we're all observing, in our current state of stress and anxiety and tension around the coronavirus and around the violence that we're seeing as the violence is starting to spike in our communities. I think Mike is back.
Yes, I'm back.
Absolutely. Cool.
So I can pick up on the question, because it was really, if I'm not mistaken, just geared towards what the hospital stuff looks like. And so, again, that's really, it's high level stuff. It's some traumatic stuff, because what happens is when we're in the hospital, it rehashes a lot of memories for us. I mean, we've all, as credible messengers doing this work, we've all lost friends and family members to violence. And so that's a huge part to why we do the work that we do. And I'm sure we can get into that. But so, you know, we're in the hospital, and we're supposed to be the men and women who are providing a shoulder for the families and the victims. But check this out. A lot of times, in the reality of Staten Island, the North Shore of Staten Island, is we know everybody. So when we're in that hospital, when we get the call, all of our hearts, they always drop, because 9 times out of 10, we're going to know the person that's laid on that gurney, shot or stabbed, right? And so that's not an easy thing. Most of us have children out here. So, I mean, this may be a little bit off topic, but I think it's important. You know, every single day doing this work and just being a part of this bigger movement, when we hear about a shooting on Staten Island, for myself, I have to call my son immediately.
Mm.
And that's some trauma, man. That's a lot to deal with, man, on an everyday basis. And so me being the manager, I get the calls immediately. So, you know, can you imagine what that's like? You know, to have to, I can't call my team first. I gotta call my son first to make sure he's okay. And that's a lot to deal with, man. And so you know, yeah, we get those calls from the hospital, man. And, you know, we dispatch the team, you know, we go there. Again, a lot of times we know the victim, and we're there, you know, Lord willing, the person survives, and we're able to share our services, man, just try to, you know, reform their life. You know, offer services, let them know about a retaliation is not smart. What can we do? We can squash this now. We can save you. We can calm the homies down that want to go retaliate, you know? And so that's the work that we do, man. It's definitely, and we have I would say like a 90+% of no retaliation when we reach that young man or young woman who are shot or stabbed on that hospital bed. Our retaliation rate is second to none.
So now, Mike, let me ask you, what is it that attracted you to the Cure Violence model? What made you want to join True to Life? And what has your journey been? Because I know you didn't join True to Life and become a manager immediately. I believe you started off as a violence interrupter. So right. What made you want to get involved with the Cure Violence model?
Right, absolutely. So for me, it was a situation to where I was looking for anything to get out the street. I was looking for any opportunity to leave what I was doing. And my thing started with prayer for me. And you know the story, Robin, you know. My situation started with prayer for me. I was actually in the streets doing what I was doing. I was dealing drugs down where I lived in New Brighton, Richmond Terrace houses, and I was doing it on a high level. It wasn't no low level stuff. It was on a high level. And I had a moment one day where I actually broke down. I had a bunch of drugs, a nice amount of money, I would say, for a younger guy. And I had a moment where I think, because my father was actually killed up the block on Jersey Street, like what, two buildings down from where I'm now selling drugs. And I had a moment, I was thinking about him, and I just broke down, just tears. You know, I'm just sitting at the table, and you would say to yourself, you got this money, you got access to these drugs, you got guns, what the hell you crying about? But because my spirit wasn't sitting right with what I was doing, and I knew it wasn't right. And so I thought about my dad being killed up the block, and I said to myself, I'm either going to die out here like my father did up the block at 30 years old, which is extremely young, or I'm going to wind up killing somebody. And so I prayed that day. I prayed and I asked the Lord to just give me something to where I can provide for my kids legally, because that's all I was doing. That's all I wanted to do. Y'all know the Biggie song where Biggie said, "I'm just trying to make some money to feed my daughter." That's what all it was about for me. It wasn't about hurting nobody. It wasn't about being a criminal. It wasn't about none of that. It was about just providing. And so I prayed for a better way. I prayed for a way out that I just wanted to provide for my children. And so, hey, I got a phone call one day. You know, that's how the story happened. I got a phone call one day, not immediately, months later, after this prayer happened. I got a call from someone who was putting this thing together. And he said to me, yo, bro, you know, we got this thing going on. We're about to get some funding. We're starting an organization, and I need somebody credible like you who got the energy and the popularity in the hoods where you're from to speak to these young men about stop shooting and killing. And immediately I was conflicted, because my thing was like, I was in the street. I had guns. I was like, really, you know, I was there. So for me to be able to come out all of a sudden, flip it and talk about don't do it, I struggled with that for a small moment. But then shortly after, I said, wait a minute. I just almost faced, I remember I was almost facing 13 years in prison. I almost been killed twice, almost killed somebody. I have numerous friends and family members who were killed by gun violence. I need to rewrite my narrative. So what I was struggling with in terms of me being in the street and how that's gonna look. See, I was at an identity crisis. I was struggling with an identity crisis. Hell yeah, I want to do this work. Hell yeah, I want to change my narrative of my life. And so I accepted. Like Robin said, I started off as a violence interrupter, as part-time. It really wasn't enough money to do what I had to do, but I stayed on the grind. I was present. I used my credibility to build a vibration on Staten Island. And after losing friends, family members, my father to violence, being in so many funerals, I wound up saying, yes, this is what I want to do. And I committed myself. And then a few years later, after being a violence interrupter, I wound up being a supervisor, and then ultimately became the manager. And so little did I know that phone call, because I didn't know initially, that was the prayer being answered. That phone call that I got months later after that moment that I had. So, yep. The prayer was answered, and I never looked back.
Mike, Michael DeVito, sorry. Did
you
have any questions?
Yes. I'm so very moved by the explanation that you just gave around how, often we're looking, or we seem to believe that we have this one, with this one thing that strikes us that changes us. And very rarely do we recognize that there were lots of different signs along the way that led up to us taking this turn to where we're so very focused on service. And that is actually a sacred process. And I think that it's not enough. I think that just for humanity, not enough humans recognize that service is sacred.
Right.
So to hear you speak to it just from so many different angles of just sort of this space where you actually started gaining this momentum and the challenges that you were facing towards that, is that, that recognition of how the consciousness takes time before it shifts.
Right.
And that it's not always just one thing, it's a culmination of several little things.
Yes, sir.
And I wonder how does it feel for you knowing that, in this work that you may only play a little piece in someone else's, greater journey.
Right.
How do you contend with the stress, or how do you just like say to yourself, oh, I'm going to play this part today.
Right.
And maybe 10 years from now, somebody's going to come back to you and say, hey man, it was because of you that I'm here now.
Right. Yeah, Mike. And the beautiful thing about that is that happens already. You know, I've been doing the work for about 5-6 years, and those transformative stories are present, man. They're there, and it's a struggle still, because, like I said, you know, being in it this work is very traumatic. I tell people all the time, we're not robots. We still have feelings. We still got to come home. You know, we're still dealing with the stress and the trauma of just being involved in this work. And it's some heavy stuff, man. You know, this is not, you have to be built, you have to be trained, you have to be dedicated to this work. And this is nothing that just being somebody from the street you can do. No, because everybody just from the street and from that life can't do that. Can do this work. That's not what this is. And so you have to maintain a balance with whatever your foundation is that keeps you balanced. And mine is, of course, spirituality and my children. That's the balance that allows me to still do what I do. I love doing what I do. I love being able to create stories like my own, you know, presenting opportunities for young men and women who can, you know, to change their lives. And so I think that, and then being able to see it, and like you said, Mike, being able to recognize it is extremely important. So it's not easy. It's a daily struggle. Hey, I'm still a violence interrupter, right? Even though I'm a program manager, there's no way in hell I can sit in the office all day, push papers and send out reports, because of my name, because of who I am, because of my credibility, because of my relationships. I have to be a violence interrupter. I absolutely have to. And so that's the reality. And I know that's not the reality across all CMS, which it may be, but no, the reality is that no, because some program managers are not out there interrupting violence, and I'm one who is. And it's no knock to the CMS, that's my family, but that's my reality. I am still an active violence interrupter because I have to be.
Now, Mike, your story is one of my favorite stories, especially because I was there the day that you got promoted to manager. And I think there is no one more deserving of the position. So to lighten the mood, I wanted to pick your brain a little bit, if that's okay.
Yes, let's go.
Okay. So we have something called the conflict management style quiz. And we're not going to go through the entire quiz, but there are 5 styles of conflict management. You have the accommodating style, the avoiding style, compromising, collaborating, and competing. So the accommodating style is where you forsake your own needs or desires in exchange for those of others. You would be putting the concerns of others before your own. It usually takes place where you either simply give in or you're persuaded to give in. You have the avoiding style of conflict management, which completely evades the conflict. You would neither pursue your beliefs or those of others involved. You would just continuously postpone or completely dodge conflict whenever it comes up. You have compromising, which attempts to find a solution that will help both sides of the argument. It would please all parties. You have collaborating, which attempts to find a solution that will meet the needs of all parties rather than just trying to find a middle ground or a middle solution. You'd aim for a solution that satisfies everyone, so it's a win-win situation. And then lastly, you have competing. So a competing style takes a firm stance and it refuses to see the perspective of other parties. You would push your viewpoint at others or keep rejecting the ideas until you get your own way. So as the manager of True to Life, what do you think your conflict management style is, and how does that affect your management style at True to Life? Did I say that right? What is your conflict management style, and then how does that affect you being a manager?
Right. I think hey, I'm a few of those things you mentioned, Rob. I would say definitely collaborative, because I always enjoy and I always see success when you use that style, being collaborative and seeing things from different perspectives, and also accommodating, because what we do here at True to Life, man, I mean, all the time is we have to put other people first. I mean, that's just a part of the work. You have to put yourself aside, whether it be sleep. We sacrifice so much here in the work that we do. And so definitely with myself, I would say accommodating and definitely collaborative is the style that I use as far as mediating conflict. And we've been able to see the success And then when you look at the collaborative style, it's really a genuine style to use, because you're showing that you care about both sides. Even if because we're in so many situations where we say, well, this side was way off and way wrong, and that was some BS that they did, but we still have to find the medium and not even bring that up about who we agree with or who we don't agree with, and then use the collaborative style to get it done. And it's the same thing with managing the staff, because we have 14 people that are my staff, and so that are beside me, not under me. 14 people that I manage, and so for me, that job is woo, that ain't easy, baby, because we have right, because we have so many personalities and so much trauma, even on the staff. These men, say hi, because I knew he was coming. Come here. Come say hi, buddy. Say hi.
Hey.
Hi, Puddin' Pop.
Oh my
say
goodness.
Hi. You
there
say
you
hi.
Are.
Say, I want to talk. That's why I say bye-bye. Okay, say bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Peace.
Oh. Peace.
That's his peace sign. His peace sign is the one sign. When he does, that means peace.
That's good. All
Can't
right,
put up 2 fingers yet, right?
I'm down with you.
Go drink your water. Go get water. So yeah, so dealing with the staff is a whole different job. I got to talk to my director about a whole nother check, because not only am I out in the street, I have to deal with real life stuff by managing the staff. And this staff is actually, and this is a beautiful thing, because it's not always when you're working, your staff is your family. But with True to Life, we are absolutely a family. Robin can attest to that. We are very close. We don't agree all the time, but we love each other, man. We love each other dearly, the men and women who work True to Life. And so yeah, that's kind of the style in both conflict mediation and dealing with the street. I would say accommodating style and a collaborative style.
Michael, did you have any commentary?
I just would want to just go a little further into what you were saying before about the staff being family. And really it is, I think, when you do the work that we're so very committed to, with just helping people every day, it's so necessary for there to be a bond and a trust that gets established, because that becomes part of the vehicle that we're using to connect to others and to help them see that there's people around them that care about them. How does that narrative that you're using around defining violence as a disease, how does that connect everyone? And then what is it like to reach somebody and bring them into that? And I'm hearing in your story so much of it. I just want to hear about how you're finding the solutions in the community with that model.
Right. So one thing I want to add too, man, is that we and this may sound cliche, but it's a very genuine statement. We use love, right, with these young men. Because let's look at the young men and women who are out here. They're not seeing a lot of love, man. They're seeing the word, right? They're seeing it, but they're not experiencing a lot of love. And so what love looks like from where we're from, it looks a little different. It's a little different. It's a what's up, little bro? Let me holler at you. Hand on the shoulder, hand around them. Some of these young kids have never been hugged, man. Especially by a big homie, but hold on one second, Pop. By somebody who they look up to. I'll give you more. Give me 1 sec, okay? Get your water and sit down. I'll give you some more chips, okay? Go ahead, get your water. So when we use love, that mechanism that's the buy-in, Mike. That's the buy-in, Rob. It's showing like, look, hand around the shoulder, young boy. Let me holler at you. Let me sit down, buy a slice of pizza, chop it up with them. Yo, I got mad love for you. These kids are so blown away. So it's been my experience in doing this work. I've happened to say that, and I ain't say that if I ain't mean it, right? So I say it because I mean it, not to just because I know it works and I know it. No, I say it because it's real, it's genuine, and I mean it. So when I say that to a young man or young woman, I care about you, little bro. Let's do this. What you think about this? And let's get up off this, and just starting to have that conversation. They are so blown away that they're like, their defenses are down. They're like, wait a minute. A lot of these young men and women, they're not getting that at home. They don't know what it's like. They don't know what it's like to be loved and be cared about by someone outside of their family. And sometimes they don't get it in their own family. So for me, that has been my personal way in to some of the young men and women. Outside of them knowing me and having that respect for me, I don't know every young person. I don't know all of them. And so I use that now, and I'll just dig in. So that's just a part of the thing. And again, to your point, Mike, but to try to answer your question a little better, that's the buy-in. That's the way we get in, right? That's an inroad that we use, something that we use. And so after that, it's the model now. Now we embrace the young men and women with the model. And the model is genuine, right? Because you have organizations who have structure and protocol that they got to follow. The reason why I'm so invested in the work of True to Life is because it's a genuine model. It's real. You can't fake that. You can't fake doing a risk reduction, growth and development plan with somebody. That you can't fake that. This is the needs of the person. Let's do it. That's genuine. Helping someone achieve that. And so those are the things that is very rewarding to myself, rewarding to the staff, and that's why I'm so blessed to be a part of this work. When they ask me, because we get so much congratulatory remarks from people, they thank us all the time, especially this kid. They thank us. Say hi. You say hi, buddy. They say peace. They thank us so much that, the reality is, my response is always, hey, I'm just blessed to be in a position to do the work, right? That's my response. Before I even say thank you, before I even say you're welcome, I say to them, I'm just blessed to be in a position, bro, because I know that, in certain organizations and things that help people, sometimes you don't have the right person there. And so I'm so blessed and thankful to be in a position to be who I am, to do the work. What do you want, Pop? You got to say hi. Okay.
So I wanted to ask how COVID-19 has affected the scope of work for True to Life.
Oh yeah, man. So and thankfully we've been able to stay employed, through the, yep, I see the car, champ. Yep. Go sit down, eat your chips. He eats vegan chips, by the way. Robin knows I'm a freak. Yeah. So, but again, thankfully we've been able to stay employed, man, through this whole thing. It was very, it was some nervous times for a lot of the staff during this whole thing because we didn't know what was going to happen with the work, and so we just been able to switch over to virtual platforms. But the reality of True to Life, you guys, and I'll share this with you guys. Hey, we really didn't. Only time we had time off was from the office because they shut the office building down. But we still were in the street. We had to. Of course, we was protecting ourselves to the best of our ability. Mask, gloves, sanitizer, social distancing, doing the best we could. But we were still out there, man. When nobody was really out there, and so, and understandably so, right? I mean, because we just couldn't drop situations and not check up on peace agreements and not check up on our men and women who are on our caseload. So we've had to do particular things as far as virtual stuff. Of course, our text messages, phone calls, they've ramped up a lot because we do check-ins with our participants. We have about 60 participants on our caseload. So high-risk youth, mind you, and some ain't, and it ain't all youth, So virtual meetings, virtual workshops, restorative circles as well. We've also linked with NYSIT to do restorative circles. And so big shout out to NYSIT for always being a true and genuine partner, True to Life. Let me say that. So we've done work with you guys. Conflict mediation workshops. We do health and wellness workshops, right? Where we'll do a quick 5-minute workout where somebody can, get that into their routine. And then we'll talk about healthy options as far as eating, because you got to support the healthy workout with healthy eating. And so we do that. And then sometimes we open up the platform just to provide spaces for the youth. Sometimes there's no topic. Sometimes there's just a platform. What's going on with you? How you feeling right now? Let's go around and let's build and let's talk and let's build upon those thoughts and those feelings. And so, we've learned that to be successful in this work, we want to make sure that we're not so not structured, but not so with a topic all the time. Sometimes you got to let the youth give them the space to build. And so we switched over to virtual workshops, a lot of stuff on Facebook. So that's what we've been able to do during the COVID while still being out there in the street.
Has the rate of incidents gone up since the pandemic occurred?
Well, since the pandemic, no, they haven't spiked, but just recently, the past, I would say 2 weeks, I think New York City has seen something that I don't know if, not in my lifetime, I'm not sure, but we've seen a lot of shootings. The shootings have spiked in the past 2 weeks, but kind of during the height of the pandemic, it wasn't really nothing too crazy. There was some incidents, of course, but it wasn't like now. I would say since the July 3rd to now, it's been extremely crazy in New York City in terms of the shootings.
Okay.
So I want to bring you back to something because I'm fascinated by it, and also I would love our community to to better understand it, and
right.
And also to ask. So I'm going to ask 2 questions here. The first is you had mentioned the peace agreement.
Right.
If you could share a little bit about what that means and how it creates stable ground for the young people, for everybody that you're working with.
Right.
And then also, just from somebody who has been, in this work, doing this work, what do you think the reasons are to the spike in the city's, shootings right now? And just, dude, this is your space, so
right.
I want to hear from somebody that we all need to learn from. How do we get it back to a place where we can all, be confident that we're moving in the right direction?
Definitely. So a peace agreement. So what happens during the peace agreement is that will be a conflict that we've mediated, right? That we've got some success, we've gained some success in. And so the peace agreement comes now. Now we have to hold both parties to the agreement. And that needs to be checked on from time to time. You just don't create a peace agreement, they shake hands or dap fists and they walk away. No, you have to check on that. You have to make sure both sides are following up on their word and keeping their word. So we check in with both parties. Everything good with bro, everything good with bro, and we'll check on that peace agreement, and we know the energy when it's right. And if we know that it's been tainted, or we go back in and we approach that differently. We try to make sure we tighten that peace agreement up. So that's what a peace agreement looks like. So again, to your second question, just in terms of let me make sure I'm answering it correctly. You was mentioning how do we deal with how we've been dealing with it during the COVID, or I just want to make sure I'm answering it right.
So just we're seeing it, and of course there's lots of opinions as to the reason why. You're in it.
Okay.
Right, and so you have a front row seat, and you have the solutions.
Right. So I mean, man, I would say a lot of things, Mike. I would say the lockdown that we've been in for the past 3 months has the uncertainty that's present in the world right now, not only in underserved and underprivileged communities, the uncertainty that's present. Talks of a second wave of COVID coming and being like no other. So many people losing jobs, so many families struggling. Those things they've been on the table already, but they've just been exacerbated by the pandemic. Well, I like to say the plandemic, and I'm not going to get too left on that, but I'll just leave that there. But again, I think all of those things are playing into the emotions and the energy that's present, especially in the neighborhoods where we're from across the United States of America, man. Current events, political stuff, all of those things are in each home, whether you're involved in it or not. These things are on the table for us. And again, all of these things have been exacerbated. I would again say the uncertainty of the times is the reason why the violence has spiked up, in the past. Go sit down, champ. Get your water. Has spiked up in the past week, to the numbers that we've seen. I think, I just seen a report, and me and CMS, we have a group chat where we talk about all the time. There's been over 130 shootings with 5 homicides just past weekend. And I mean, I don't think myself in this work I've ever seen that. So again, I think it's uncertainty. Go get your car. It will drive your car. Go press the button on your car. Vroom. Yep. So that uncertainty, man, I feel like that's the reason of the rash of shootings.
So Mike, I wanted to ask you, as a person of color, how are you managing your emotions regarding the current state of the country, regarding George Floyd, the Black Lives Matter movement, and other things of that nature?
Right. Hey, thanks for asking that, Rob. So me, like everyone else, I would say, who cares about our people, who cares about our community, the emotions are there. Oh, they're there. And I think that's been one of the toughest things to deal with for me personally. The emotions are high, and this is a very emotional time for a lot of us. And I would say for me, I have a particular spirituality that keeps me balanced and keeps me focused on the task at hand, knowing that I'm doing my role and playing my part effectively by one helping and change the lives and minds of young men and women, especially of color. And so that I feel like that's been my assignment through this whole thing. But yeah, I mean, we're pissed off. We're tired. We're tired of it. I love the shift that's happening. It's a shift. It could be promising. I'm seeing a lot of symbolism happening, which is cool. That's cool. But that needs to translate. That needs to translate to some real effective and meaningful change, and substantial, and then long-standing change, right? Where's the let's talk about what laws are passing. Let's talk about the consequences for police officers who abuse their job and neglect the people, neglect the CPR, the courtesy, professionalism, and respect. Where's the let's see the consequences for that. Let's put something in writing. Let's make sure we change in the lives and minds of the officers as well, so they can do their job better. Because we all understand we need police. I mean, let's not be ain't nobody crazy, right? We need but we need a righteous law enforcement. We need a righteous law enforcement instituted, and I think that we'll see what happens. But it's been rough. It's been tough managing my own emotions. But again, my spirituality and my children keep me balanced, so I don't go left. That's been my ground for forever. Hey, I deal with my past every single day. So just dealing with another nuance or another something that can have you go left, I've been dealing with that and defeating that for the past few years. So I'm pretty grounded on where I stand.
Lastly, what has been the most rewarding part of working with True to Life?
Oh man, most rewarding part. Oh, there's a couple, right? There's a couple. I would say the bonds that I have with the staff members, because in no other space, because you have staff members from all across Staten Island, the different neighborhoods, that sometimes the neighborhoods didn't get along, and sometimes it wouldn't be no beef, but it would be I don't talk to that person. So I have so many newfound brothers and friends from other neighborhoods. So I'm extremely blessed to have these brothers in my life who I call real brothers. So that's been rewarding. The relationships that I've made, the awards that I have received on behalf of the city and just recognizing our work, the transformative life, the transformative changes that I've made in my own life, because True to Life changed and saved my life first. So before I can go help any damn body, this has been a blessing to me in my life. And so that's those things are rewarding. And I think the most rewarding thing has been to see that I was able to use my story without glorifying it, right? It's very, very important to use my story because it can be used to be glorified. But me being able to use my story without glorifying it to save a young man and young woman's life and to turn them on a straight path, that is the single most rewarding thing.
That's excellent. That's really good to hear. Michael, I see it on your face.
I am just, I know that we're trying to wrap up here. I could talk to you forever, brother. And we had that great conversation a couple of months ago that was impromptu.
Right.
Was one of the reasons why I knew that, when we started this, that you were going to be somebody that we immediately spoke to. To hear the passion for your purpose is just so stabilizing and energizing, and that you're grounding it in your spirituality.
Right.
One of the things that we're trying to do here is, we're not looking to make people find religion, and we
Right.
are asking them to look inside of themselves because we have the solutions.
Right.
And if we can connect to one another, like you're out there every day, connecting to your community, connecting to young people, connecting to people in need, then we got a chance. We got a shot at making this, this existence actually mean something for all of us.
Right.
So, brother, I am blessed to know you. I am blessed to have had the opportunity to spend another hour of my life with you, and that we've been able to, talk to so many important things that our community needs to know to find healing and to find peace and to find solutions. You've heard it here. You've heard it here. If you've never heard it before, everybody, you've heard it here. One love.
That's right.
People with love. Indeed. So I just thank you. I applaud you. I love you, brother. And it's
More,
out
man.
there, man. I'll see you out there.
Yeah, Robert. See you in the field, Mike. Like we always say, Rob, I see you in the field. Thank you guys for having me, man. It's all love. Let's continue to do what we can. Let's continue to do our part, man.
It's always a pleasure, Mike.
Yes. I'll see y'all soon. Thank you, guys.
Take care.
All right.
Indeed. Be well. Well, that is it, my good loving humans. You've been on with the first full episode of Effective Expressions. We are creating flow for Staten Island and the world. And if you want to know more about what we're up to, look down below and see that you can take that Peace Institute of the United States Conflict Management Survey. Check out to see how you can also take the love language survey and all sorts of other really cool things that we're going to be doing on the podcast in the future. You can follow us at TikTok and Instagrammy at NYCID_improves lives, and on YouTube, on Facey Spates, and the Tweety Tweets at NYCID, at NYCID. And remember, we're not the ID place.
Feel free to follow True to Life at facebook.com/True to Life SI. That's true, the number 2, life SI. And on Instagram at instagram.com/True to Life _SI. So true, the number 2, life _SI. See you next Wednesday at noon.
Later.